Hey everyone, it's Matthew Zachary, and if you've been following my work since the Cancer Mavericks, then listen up, because my next big thing is here, and it's called Walk It Off, Men Don't Talk About Cancer. And it's the first podcast documentary series where men with cancer talk about, everything they're not supposed to talk about. Sex, shame, rage, silence, caregiving, vulnerability. It's raw, it's honest, it's long overdue, and it's everything you'd expect from me. The trailer just dropped. So subscribe today and get ready to binge all 3 episodes when the series premieres on September 11th. It's personal, it's powerful, and it's time. To learn more and to have a listen, visit walkitoffpod.com. That's walkitoffpod.com, or just search for Walk It Off Men Don't Talk About Cancer wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the show. You're about to meet someone who's been through hell and didn't just survive, but made something out of it. Lexi Silver is a classmate of my daughter's. She's 14, a high school freshman. She lost both her parents within 9 months of each other at the age of 10. She's not famous. She's writing a book. She's just real and raw and way too smart and mature for the bullshit most adults throw at her. She writes poetry that cuts through the noise like a scalpel. She leads other grieving kids. She's turned her pain into purpose without romanticizing a single second of it. This episode with Lexi is not a sob story. It's not a trauma dump. And if you're not ready to hear what resilience actually looks like in 2025 for Gen Z, just shut the show off right now. But if you are, prepare yourself for Lexi Silver. You will not forget her. So we're rolling, but I don't. The way that I do the show is I introduce you in like a pre-intro that isn't part of this.
Okay.
So we can just start talking.
Okay.
So, confidence.
Yes.
You are confident. That's what I was most impressed with. You come across as incredibly confident. And I want to believe that is authentically you.
Yes.
How do you feel about what I just said?
I feel like what you just said is 100% true. I want to come off as confident so people will listen to what I have to say.
What is the most idiotic thing people typically say to you that you kind of maybe gotten over because you're just so used to being told it?
I think that things will get exponentially better in life. And also, I think I'm sorry for your loss 24/7 in the dreary voice people use it in.
How about you poor thing?
Yes, all the time.
All the time?
Yeah. Still after many years later.
Do you fault people for saying that, or is it forgivable that they just don't know what else to say?
People don't know what to say. They feel bad. They get uncomfortable. So it's just like, oh, okay, thank you for that. But in my head, I know it's coming from a good place in their heart.
It really is. And honestly, I've learned, again, even with my story, my story. I was sick when I was 21. And it was always like, but you look great. And you poor thing. And how are you feeling? And this endless thing. I've just learned to say, I'm fine. Thank you. And that's all they kind of need to hear, because your goal is to either make them go away, and that's fine, or to figure out if they have a place in what you want to accomplish, in what you've chosen to do with your life, which this is like one of those things, I could be your dad, but I'm not here in that capacity. I'm here in awe of not the you poor thing, but I don't believe it's about why. I believe it's about where do I go with this? And you have chosen to do something that I would consider rare. You haven't crawled up in a ball. You haven't cried in the shower, rhetorically speaking. you've chosen to roll with these horrible punches you never expected to have. But I really want to hear from you. I mean, I've done my homework, but this is for the audience, the listeners. Talk to us about your parents.
So my parents were divorced from when I was 4 years old, and I didn't live with my mother. So every 4 months I would go visit her. And one day I went to go visit her for Christmas, roughly around 4 years ago. And she had uncontrollable spasms. So she took 2 different kind of painkillers, and she passed away Christmas morning, 2020.
What was the time span between that and that?
Of the time that she took painkillers and passed away?
Right. When she started to have these symptoms.
She had the symptoms Christmas Eve, so roughly around 24 hours before.
So she passed away within 24 hours.
Yes.
Was there ever an explanation and like a post-mortem of what had caused this?
She had took 2 different painkillers that were doctor prescribed, and they were magnets. They contracted really poorly together, and they exploded in her stomach, and it created a accidental suicide.
Wow. So the doctors, the nerds, would call that a contraindication. Fancy syllables there.
Yes.
So the prescribers of these medications were either unaware that these 2 medications would cause this.
They knew it would cause it, but my mom didn't. She wasn't thinking clearly because it was not Mother's Day, sorry. It was Christmas Eve, and she was so confused on what to do, and she was freaking out because she never get to see me. So she did what she did, and she took 2 different painkillers, and she had no idea the aftermath of what would happen.
Right.
So, yeah.
And you were living with your dad at the time?
Yes, in New York.
And how did you find out?
I found out, I was in the next room when she passed away, so my grandmother and my aunt came in, and she was like, your mother's not breathing. So they took her to the hospital. A few hours later, they told me that all of her ribs had been broken from trying to resuscitate her. She was dead for 10 minutes, and they brought her back, but she was currently brain dead, so there was no use in having her be alive because she would just be unresponsive for the rest of her life. So I was giving gifts outside, and my aunt got a phone call, and she shook her head, and that's when I knew that she was gone.
Wow. Yeah, there's no good, greeting card. Like Merry Christmas. There's no card for that moment.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what was going through your head, disbelief and denial and all the things you've come to understand are this thing we call grief.
Yes, quite
trauma.
literally.
What I'm always fascinated by working in this sector, I see people that are sick all the time, living with diseases or obviously passing away from them. And we didn't used to call it trauma. We didn't even call it anything. We was like, just, walk it off. You look great, but you got the rest of your life. Figure it out. So I'm really happy that there is a warm hug you never really wanted. But did you, again, beyond the you poor thing, your mom just passed away. Was there a hug for you? Was there grief counseling or at your school?
Yes, there was. I was in 5th grade at the time, so I already had a counselor. And by the time in 5th grade, I've already had over 10 different therapists that I've known and then my dad didn't like. So I've been in therapy my whole life growing up before my mother passed away. So after she passed away, I quit therapy. I was like, it's not helping me. I can't do this right now. So I quit therapy afterwards. But I had a lot of resources. And the day that my mother passed away, I called my dad. He was in the car and he stopped. And he was like, I'm going to come to Phoenix to get you. And I was like, no, I want to be here with my family. So a few days later, he came and he picked me up. And he was that warm hug that supported me after my mom died.
Did you stay in Phoenix for a while or you immediately moved across the country to live with your father?
Oh, no, I lived with my father. He had full custody.
So you were visiting.
I was visiting my mom for only 5 days.
Okay.
So I stayed for the rest of the 3 days, I believe it was, and he picked me up and I went home.
Do you think there was a bit of maybe spiritual timing that you happened to be in Arizona visiting and this trauma happened?
Oh, 100%. I always go back and think, was this the way it was supposed to be? Was this set in stone? And obviously it wasn't, but 10-year-old Lexi was like, was this meant to be? Was this supposed to happen? My friends always call me a living person of bad luck because no matter where I go, it seems something bad always happens. So it was always that spiritual thinking of, was this supposed to happen this way? And also, she was always sick growing up. She was either in pain, a disease, just anything. She was on disability for back problems and stuff. So when I heard she died, I was like, is this just another thing that's happening in the hospital? Because I didn't think much of it because she was always in the hospital. So.
Was she one of those patients that were constantly on pain medications?
Yes. Yeah, she was. She was on back medication, emotional antidepressants, just honestly any medication you can think of she was on.
So you were growing up in that environment?
Yes.
Right.
Until I was 4. But then visiting my mother back and forth every 4 months for roughly only a week, 5 days, not even. She was always sick. I mean, I don't remember any trip that I went to go visit her that she didn't end up getting sick.
So that was like your strange handrail. You were just, this is the way your life was.
Yes, it was
normal
for me.
Different.
Yes, it was normal for me. I thought all mothers go through this, and I thought there's no other family that doesn't go through this.
So you have all these memories just living inside your head.
Yes, I do. And sometimes in the most randomest of times, I just think of them like a montage.
How did you choose to express yourself, if you did at all, after your mother's passing? Because we're going to get to your writings, of course, but this is years later.
Yes. Honestly, I didn't express myself after she died, and I don't think that I would have. If I didn't find writing, I think I'd just be a depressive ball in my room all the time. If I didn't find my outlets, I paint all the time at home just to feel some sort of freedom release, because I feel like when you're dealt with a bad hand, there's no one else to really comfort you besides yourself. But yet when you look to yourself for comfort, your mind's going to play tricks on you and give you these memories and pictures and sounds in your head. So sometimes when I'm painting, I hear an ambulance siren. Even though I didn't physically hear the ambulance siren, my mind is like making up these fabrications of the day my mother passed away, and my father too. So I just hear these things in my head, and sometimes I hear them speaking to me, and it's just things that I think about.
When I was sick, the treatments that I had caused my salivary glands to evaporate for a while. So they had me swirling Listerine all day just to keep some kind of mucus in my mouth. And to this day, 30 years later, I can't even look at a bottle of Listerine. I can't even think of that. Just thinking now, saying these words to you, it rents space in your head for your entire life. It's what you choose to do with that memory.
Yeah, exactly. I still can't swallow pills thinking, am I going to die like my mother did? My grandfather at home, if I have a headache, it's like, oh, take a Tylenol. Oh, but I already took Tylenol earlier, or I took Advil in the morning. It's like, oh no, you'll be fine. It's that thought in my head, what if I end up like my mother did?
Yes.
And it's that fear looking at pill bottles. And I, to this day, have a hard time swallowing pills, having that memory in my mind, don't end up like mom.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a hard reality to wake up to every single day.
Yeah.
But your story isn't over.
Yeah. And that's
There's
what I tell
more.
people.
So let's just get right into that part too.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm doing what I do. I'm only 14, so I know I have my whole life ahead of me. I'm in high school. I have literally my whole life, and I want to do great things, and I want people to hear my story, because there's so many other teenagers like me that are dealing with these things that don't know how to tell people how to deal with it themselves. And don't get me wrong, I am no expert on how to tell people how to feel, but I am an expert, in my own opinion, on how to go every day with grief and feeling it. I mean, I lived with my dad by myself for years. My whole life, I've only knew living with my father. So when I moved upstairs to live with my grandfather and my grandma, it was weird, because I was like, oh, I'm living with 2 people now, more support and love. And then when my grandmother passed away last year, it was like I'm living with my dad all over again, but not, because I was living with, again, one person. So it was just weird.
Well, let's talk about your father. What was his name?
His name was Ira.
Ira.
Yes.
And let's discuss what that was like for you.
Yeah, so 3 years ago, my dad passed away from complications of colon cancer. He had gotten septic shock, and I was in Texas visiting my aunt, and I FaceTimed him I wanted to show him a picture of Guy Fieri, because he loves cooking. His whole hobby was surrounded around cooking and stuff like that. So I FaceTimed him, and he was in a hospital bed, and he hung up abruptly, and I texted him, and I was like, what's happening? Why are you in a hospital? background context, my dad was never sick. Never ill, no cough, nothing. If he had a sneeze, I would be worried. He was food crazed around health and keeping himself healthy because his mom was always sick growing up. So when I saw him in the hospital, I was freaking out, as any 10-year-old would do. And this was also 9 months after my mother had died. So seeing my healthy dad in a hospital freaked me out to no end. And I came home, and it was roughly around 6 weeks later after. And he told me I had colon cancer, emphasis on had. I'm doing preventative chemo for you. He told the doctors, my little girl Lexi's at home, just lost her mom. I can't die. She can't lose me too. So we took preventative chemo. And 1 week he would be okay. The next week he would be on chemo and he would feel like crap. He would feel horrible and sick. So the 1 week he was supposed to be okay, he wasn't. And the next day he had passed out trying to do some work. And we took him to the hospital. And some of these memories can jumbled up into one ball of memories. But he had passed away from septic shock from the hospital. So apparently the hospital gave him septic shock.
Did he disclose to you? Yes, you were 10 years old. This is another conversation of when parents get sick, how do you talk to young children about mommy and daddy have a problem? Did you have that conversation with him when this originated?
It was very vague. I mean, my whole family lied to me for 6 to 8 weeks about it because they had my best interest at mind. But in the moment, I was like, you all lied to me. But my dad sat me down with a few family members, and he was like, I had colon cancer. And he really just was very on point. I had colon cancer, but I'm okay now. And because I jumped on him, he was like, oh, because he had a port. Mm-hmm. So he wanted to explain to me, you're going to see this port on my chest. It's okay. I'm safe. I'm okay. And something that I believed him by was he used to bike ride for like 10, 15 miles a day, and he was A-okay. So if he didn't tell me, I would think he was perfectly fine.
So a man in peak condition gets colon cancer out of the blue.
Exactly.
How old was he at the time?
My dad was 54 at the time, and he was this healthy, strong man. And again, out of the blue, colon cancer, and he gets rid of it, thank God. But then he gets sick from preventative chemo, which, thinking about it, it's so surreal. The thing that's supposed to prevent it made it worse and brought other things.
So I don't know if you have the answer to this question, but if he died of septic shock, was this a hospital error?
Yes, we believe so. I don't have that much information on that, but my family believes so, yes, because he was okay. I think that he just passed out from not feeling that great and trying to get work. I think he was overworking himself. Yeah,
I did some volunteer work for the Sepsis Foundation. One of the founders and I went to college together, just ironic nature of my network. And I learned a lot about, thankfully, I have not been affected by that, but having met him, I've heard unbelievable stories of sepsis and septic shock coming out of nowhere. And that's what your father had.
Yes.
And that was the conclusion of what caused his passing.
Yes.
So this was 9 months after your mother passed.
Correct.
And then you moved in with
my grandma and my grandfather, my dad's parents. We live in a building, so they lived the house above, the apartment above us on the 3rd floor.
This is like a worse version of being an army brat because you're constantly moving and moving and moving. And here you are now you went from parents to no parents in less than a year.
Yes. And it was, as a little girl, I was very mature beyond my ages. I know that. But yet being a little kid without her mother and already not having her mother, visiting her every 4 months, it was traumatic, but yet I did it. And people are like, how did you do that? You're so strong. And it's just like, I don't call myself strong. I call myself human. I did it. I mean,
what choice did you have?
Exactly. What,
right.
Like, as a kid, like, am I supposed to just be like, oh, I'm fine now, thanks, or just like bring them back? You can't. There's nothing you can do when faced with these horrible things that happen in life. I mean, everyone passes away in life, but when you think of your parents passing away, you think of it when you have kids and when you're married and when they're very old and you're an adult and you've lived your life. But losing them at the ages of 10 and 10, I mean, it's horrible. It's unimaginable. But I did it, and that's what I want to tell people is that if I overcame this horrible thing, you can overcome anything. I mean, people have it worse than I do, and I don't like when people compare because there's no use in comparing anything because everyone goes through their own stuff.
Yeah, the "you're so strong" is on that list of "but you look great."
Yes.
Things not to say, but you just say thank you.
Yeah, that's all you can say.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break.
Okay.
And we'll be right back after this. I'm kind of speechless. We'll be right back.
At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Wherever you go, whatever they get into, from chill time to everyday adventures, protect your dog from parasites with Credelio Quattro. For full safety information, side effects, and warnings, visit CredeliaQuattroLabel.com. Consult your vet or call 1-888-545-5973. Ask your vet for Credelio Quattro and visit QuattroDog.com.
My next question has to do with maturity, and I'm using my experience in pediatric cancer, and I look to like my wife's late brother. I don't know if you were aware that my wife lost her brother to cancer. He was 19. He was diagnosed at 15. It really rapidly accelerated his maturity. And when I started to meet other, I would like graduates of pediatric cancer, they would tell me that they never felt that they could really relate to their peers at the time. But you were just saying before that you maybe were congenitally a little more mature than your peers at the time. Did this do even more to make you feel like you have the wisdom and the sage vibe of a, you've lived 80 years in 15?
Yes, exactly. My dad used to say I was like 50 in a 10-year-old's body because I've been through all of these things. I mean, growing up, I used to go to court for like divorce court, and I used to have to speak to lawyers. I mean, at the time, I think I was around maybe 8, 9, maybe even younger. No little kid in that age range goes to court and misses after school fun with friends every Friday to go tell a lawyer who you want to be with. So that's just not normal. But again, normal is not in my vocabulary anymore.
Well, what does normal really mean?
It's a figment of everyone's imagination. I mean, normal, when I was younger, in my words, was the triangle effect. The kid on the top and the two parents on the bottom. That's not a thing anymore. Normality is one of my quotes in my book, actually, is normality is a state of mind. It's a theory and a concept people want to believe to make the pain go away. But no one is normal.
Of course. You're very clearly a socially active young woman, and you have friends. Mm-hmm. How do you weed out the friends that you're not quite sure get you? Or is that a process that you've been struggling with?
It is a process I'm definitely on the fence about. Most of my friends want to do these idiotic things that, don't get me wrong, most teenagers always have the thought of doing, of these substances and alcohol. And it's just like, I am in a state of mind, and I am the person where I know that's not the road I want to go down. So when I come across people, and most certainly best friends of mine, they're like, hey, Lexi, let's go do this stuff. I'm like, no, thank you. And all I do when I come across friends that I don't really like and or that they don't get me as a person, I just say, it's okay. More friends will come. I try to be social and make new friends, but also I stick to my inner circle of friends that I know are mature than others and aren't afraid to say something about how they're feeling. I think that's always a friend that I like.
There was an expression we used to use, I'm really good at grief.
I've heard of that many times.
Yeah, I'm the best at trauma. We talk about you wind up shopping in a clothing store you never asked to be shopping inside of. Mm-hmm. And there's no like directory of what clothing is on what aisle, and no one tells you what to do and think, and you're adrift to figure it out on your own. Did you have any adult support? You mentioned that you had counseling and you were wrapped around this since a younger, since your like early youth.
Yes. With therapy again, I got sick of it. I thought my life was a book, and I was opening and opening again to swipe through the pages just to read it to someone for someone's pure enjoyment, really. And it was people's entertainment at this point, telling everyone my story and being like, oh, I'm so sorry for you. You're so strong. You got this. Yeah, you're amazing.
But you look great.
Exactly. But you look great. I mean, I've got people saying you look great too. People thought that me being upset would cause me to like lose weight and stuff and just be a different person emotionally and physically. And don't get me wrong, I had adult family members that helped me, but like they tell me all the time, they can't help me because they're not a professional, but I don't believe you have to be a professional to listen. That's something I always tell people. If you physically don't think you can listen, that's okay, but you don't have to be professional to just open your ears and listen to someone vent.
How have you managed anger?
Anger is something I haven't really managed. People know me as a bubbly, fun kid, but I have a lot of anger within me that I don't get out. I used to do karate, and it helped in a way, but yet it got to a point where I didn't know where to put this anger. So my anger goes on my pages. On pages of my book, that's where my anger goes to. Sometimes quotes, sometimes I do lives on my own, wouldn't like to say, social media branding I have on Instagram. So when I do lives, I put anger into making inspirational quotes and my poems. And I put my anger into helping people. I tell people my story whilst telling them it's okay to be angry, it's okay to be nostalgic, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to just be anything at this point in your life if you've had these things or not.
So you just said a word that I noticed in your writing. You said whilst.
Yes.
Most people don't say that.
It's my favorite word.
Yeah. It's very telling of your personality that you've chosen to say whilst. Most people have no idea that that's the actual original phrase for it. So I commend you on having unique semantics in how you speak.
Thank you.
So let's go to, when did you choose? I mean, Instagram existed 5 years ago when you were 10.
Yeah.
How did social media become something you felt was maybe the lowest lift to start sharing your story and expressing yourself, perhaps even entering with a little fear as how is it going to be received?
Yes, I was terrified because even now I get hate comments and hate calls and messages on how you suck, you're an orphan, curse word after curse word. And, it's definitely hard, but social media has helped me thrive within becoming a writer and just helping others. And that's my pure goal. So I think social media has helped. But starting social media, I asked my aunt a few months ago, I just got Instagram in the beginning of the year. And I was like, hey, all my friends have it. Can I get it? So going to this grief camp called Experience Camps, they have an Instagram and social media. So I was like, I want to help people how this camp media is helping.
How did you learn about this camp? I wanted to get to the camp.
My cousin, Amanda, has friends that used to work at camp. So she said, you're going. And I was so scared. I was hysterical. I was like, I don't want to go to this random camp for grieving children. But it has changed my life. Without camp, I would not have become the writer I am today. My Meet My Grief on Instagram would not be here today. I think I would have a whole different perspective on grief if I didn't go to camp. I met some of my best friends from camp. One of my best friends I see every month and every few weeks. I mean, it has truly opened up my eyes to see what people go through and to say that I'm hurting as well.
Did you ever have the where were you when I needed you to this camp?
Yes. I mean, when my mother died, my dad tried putting me in these group therapy sessions online. And I was like, this is so redundant and stupid. This is not helping me. So I used to think if I went to experience camps right when my mother died, how would it have helped me? And the answer is I don't know. The kid I was when my mom died was a completely different person than I am now, obviously. 5 years difference, more than that, obviously. But just where was the camp when I was that age? And the fact is I'm happy I didn't go when I was that age so I could meet the people I did.
You mentioned before, and I love that you said this, that it shouldn't be a contest. Do you ever get the sense that it is a contest at these camps, or there's a level setting understanding amongst everyone there?
I think that there's a level of understanding of everyone there, but of course there are mean girls and these guys that want to be alphas, if you will, and want to be top tier. So when my friends, and when I first went, when not my friends at the time, acquaintances, would hear that, I would say, oh, my mom died. Okay, next person, and my dad died. And everyone's jaw opened. You're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. You literally are the definition of why this camp is here. And yet some of my friends are like, oh, my brother, my sister, my only one parent has passed away, or an uncle that was a caregiver, or a grandparent that was everything to them. I feel like people were always like, but look at Lexi's situation. It's like, no, don't look at my situation. Your situation is unique and profound to you as a person. So my situation should have no weight, pros and cons on yours.
So what characterizes grief? I feel like, you're applying for a job. Are you grief enough to get into camp?
I think that what characterizes grief is just the earning of missing anything. I mean, grief doesn't always have to be losing a person. It can be losing an inanimate object. I mean, if I lost my nut locket with my parents' faces in it, I would be grieving the necklace. Grieving is always asking the question, why? Why did I lose this? Why did you die? Why did you leave me? Why is my life like this? And why is the world like this towards me? And the answer to why is why not? Life can throw any punches it wants at you, and the fact that it can is terrifying, but the fact as human beings, we can say to ourselves, move on with the next day, feel your emotions, but keep walking, keep going.
So what's a day in the life at this camp?
So a day in life of X camps, you wake up and you have breakfast with your campers and your fellow bunkmates. And we have a daily clinical, which 1 hour a day, you speak about your emotions, you bring a photo of your people and or person, and you just talk. It's like a therapy session, but not. You can cry, you can scream, and it's in nature. I mean, this camp is outdoors. Mainly of the events are outdoors. And you're one with nature, you're one with your people, and you can cry and scream, and you don't even have to talk if you don't want to. You can just be present in the moment.
Are most of the campers, if I could call them campers, at this experience, they lost a parent? They
lost anyone, a caregiver, a brother, a sister, an aunt that you were really close to, but it has to be someone in your immediate. You know what I mean? I feel like, obviously, if you lost a grandmother or a grandfather, how hard that can be. But this camp focuses on caregivers mostly and people you've lived with. So you can kind of say, oh, I've lost this person. Oh, wait, me too.
In Canterland, sometimes when you tell people I'm a cancer survivor, they'll say, oh, my dog died of cancer. Is there a version of that in your world?
Oh, yes, 100%. I've had people compare animals' death to my parents, and it's just like, I'm sorry that your dog died 20 years ago, but my dad died. The person that created me, that gave me life, died. My best friend. And it's like, oh, my dog was my best friend too. It's like, oh, got it.
So, yes, I will agree that you are a very prolific writer and creator. I want to talk about your book, The Girl Behind Grief's Shadow, because I read one of your poems called Dismissed Disguise. And you push back on being seen as too young. And again, what's something you wish adults would, in a perfect world, finally get about kids with grief that they just don't?
I wish adults would see that we're people too, and we have minds that are so huge, and we have ideas, and we have emotions bigger than anything else, especially as young kids. Sometimes we can't navigate our emotions just as clearly or easy as adults can because they've lived through more. But yet sometimes we, the teenagers and we, the kids, have experienced more than adults in 50 some odd years or how old an adult is. And I wish that adults could see that teenage grief is here. We're here, and I wish adults would see us and see that we're not just little screenagers on our phones all the time, so we're kids with stories.
So your poems don't just talk about loss, they talk about not being believed. You mentioned haters on Instagram.
Yes. And
as a Gen Xer, I'm not surprised that there are really just sad humans that have nothing better to do with their lives than hate on orphans.
Yeah.
Who didn't believe you?
I mean,
is it mostly social media people?
Yes, mostly social media. I mean, I had a friend of a friend that came up to me and was like, I think you're doing this for attention. It's like, I'm doing it so the world can see us. And it's not just me. My goal in life for this my book, The Girl Behind Grief Shadow, is that people can see me, Lexi, as a human and as a person that has grieved and felt. But also for we, the teenagers in this world, for people to see the teenagers and what we've been through and what, if you haven't grieved a person, the emotions that we feel. I feel like at teens, everything is heightened at times 5. So imagine being a teenager having school stress and family issues or what have you, and then to lose someone in your life, the weight that puts on someone, especially a teenager.
Have you ever met like a faker? Someone who's pretended to be an orphan and isn't? In Cancerland, there are plenty of cancer fakers that do it for attention and to raise money just for themselves.
Yeah, I've met people that have said, my mom is dead, but they just don't live with their mother and have kind of used it as like a leeway to I'm sorries and compliments on themselves and how good they're doing. But not really. I haven't met, I'm happy, thank God, I haven't met anyone that's pretended to be an orphan because it's not a fun thing to be. But I am grateful that I've met people that understand a little bit of what I've gone through.
It's not fun to be an orphan? Come on.
I know, right? I'm so sorry. I thought it was. I know. No, but I'm grateful I have friends that have lost a parent or anyone that can kind of relate to me in a way. But I also feel like the ugly duckling, the black cat of the group, because I'm the only one that's lost both mother and father. And then my grandmother, who was my second mother, passed away last year, as I mentioned earlier. And losing her was like losing a second mother. So that also, I feel like I've lost 2 moms and a dad.
So a version of my story, I love the corollaries here. I always feel like I'm being given permission to have, we talk about the horizontals, like there's grief, there's cancer, there's diabetes, yes. But then there's the sort of the things that are common threads across them, the trauma, if there's healing, what recovery looks like. And for me as a musician, I couldn't play for months because I was really sick. Yeah. And it took me a long time to rehabilitate to play. And during that time, like hundreds of songs and themes were building up in my head, like you're pulling an arrow back to let it go. You're very prolific, but was there a point where you had so many things to say and then one day they all just poured out? Yes.
I believe that day was a few months ago when I decided to start Meet My Grief on Instagram and write my book. And I'm happy I had adults in my life that were like, you're writing a book? Let's do it. Let's go for it. And there was one day I came home from school and I was like, I turned off my phone, turned off all devices, put on music, and I just was writing. One day my friend was like, how about you do a live on Instagram? So I did. And so many strangers hopped on and were asking me questions. And I got a text from someone saying, my dad died 3 years ago, and you helped me open my eyes to tell my friends. And I thank you for that. And I think after getting that message, I was like, continue, don't stop. Continue writing, continue helping, because I'm trying to make a difference, and I see that I am.
And that completely negates the haters.
Yes, I have gotten, there's the school website, and people are posting things that people have said, which I doubt are true, but don't get me wrong, some of them are obviously true, because I've heard some people say things in that kind of realm. But kids just don't care. Sometimes kids suck, and that's, the sad reality of it. But if it doesn't pertain to them, they don't care what they say. I do think that somewhere deep down, people regret what they say, but also people just don't think. And that's the problem, is people just don't have a heart and sympathy. And I'm not asking for attention or sympathy for my grief and what I've gone through, but I'm asking for people to open up their minds, to say, it hasn't happened to me yet, but this person has overcome these things at a young age.
Yeah, and too many people have holes in their hearts that they can't fill themselves, so they can only fill it with other people's schadenfreude.
Yes, and then it just drains. As soon as they say it, it fills up, and then it disappears. So that's why they have the feel to do it again and again.
So you mentioned this before, and I'm going to reiterate what you said, is you discovered this camp and you found people who you wished you knew, and now people are finding you, and maybe they wish they had known you.
Yes, I hope people do think that, because, again, I just want people to feel heard and seen. I want to be an advocate for the little people in life that are too scared to say something, because I've met people that I was like, I had no idea your mom passed away a few years ago. Like, talk to me. What's happening? Like, tell me your story. I want to hear you. I don't want to hear what anyone else, like, their opinions of you. I want to hear you from you. And I've had people definitely come up to me and say, I wish I knew you a few years ago when my mom died, because I think you would have been a great advice giver.
The expression is, it's hard to pick your favorite kid, but of all the poems that you have written and all these stories you've written, is there any one or two particularly that mean something like inherently special?
Yes, I have 3. They're technically 4. So my very first poem that I put in my book is called The Triangular Family, which is my depiction of what a family should look like in a perfect utopia world. The kid on the top and the 2 parents. And it just talks about how this is me, and I'm not going to apologize and lie and say that my parents are not alive, which is actually a line in my poem. And then I have The Stutter, which is recently new. It talks about not telling people my story and about how saying, I wish people were mind readers so I didn't always have to speak my truth, so people could just know my truth by looking at me. And then I have Christmas Nightmare, which is talking about a Christmas nightmare, my mother dying on Christmas, and people being like, oh my God, your mother is dead, and then on top of it, she died on the happiest day of the year. It's like, well, that's one way to think of it, yeah.
Worst present ever.
That
should be a new poem.
That is actually a new poem for my new book.
Wait, did I really? I read your mind? I just ESP'd you?
That is a line from my new book coming out, hopefully by the end of the summer. That is a line in a new poem I'm constructing at this moment. At the end, it says, worst gift ever.
Wow. You're welcome.
Thank you. I highly appreciate that. Mind reader. And then my last favorite one is called Stand. It is a poem about my dad's funeral. It was his unveiling. It was pouring, but his funeral was sunny and cold. And it's contrasting, should I stand up tall and be strong or fall and cry? And it's just, I didn't know what to do. I had so many arms over me telling me it's okay. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I felt like so many people were suffocating me with my condolences. It's just like, that doesn't help. It makes it worse.
So the book is called The Girl Behind Grief's Shadow. I have a surprise for you. Because your Instagram handle is Meet My Grief.
Yes.
I just bought you meetmygrief.com.
Oh, wait, that's so great.
And it goes to your Instagram for now. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to help you build a website.
Thank you. Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yes, I'm committed to helping you however I can, and the full resources of my career and everyone that I know to do that. But again, for the listeners, the book is available now, or when's it coming out?
It is already available. I have a lot of people already pre-ordering. On my Instagram, there's a link to order, and I will email you and pick up time and or delivery.
So meetmygrief.com. Check out the link in bio.
Yes.
Can we say that anymore?
Yes.
The link in bio.
Yeah, link in bio on Meet My Grief on Instagram.
So I do something very special on the show with all of my guests, and I use AI for very specific reasons, not for the stupid reasons people use it these days. And I've been using it for a long time, so it really knows me, and that's a creepy thing to say for someone 51 years old. But I ask it to tell me, I feed it a bunch of information about you, and then I tell it how I feel about having you on the show and what your story means to me. And I ask it a question, and it's, if your life was a Netflix series, what 3 characters would make up your story arc? And because you're not 1,000 years old like me, it's not an 80s list of characters, but it said that you are a Zendaya from Euphoria. And here's what it said. Not because of the addiction arc, but because the raw, ugly, relentless honesty. Rue Bennett walks through grief like it's a war zone. Lexi doesn't flinch either. Both live without a safety net, and both speak like the adults in the room forgot how to. Second, I'm going to mispronounce this because it's an Indian last name, but you are Devi Wishwakamar from Never Have I Ever. Did I say that right?
Yes.
I think I did. Devi is messy, brilliant, pissed off, and constantly torn between rage and longing. Her father's death haunts her every episode, but no one around her wants to talk about it. And you are Wednesday Addams.
My favorite.
From Wednesday.
Yes.
Clearly. Jenna Ortega. You are not goth, but you are emotionally surgical. You don't wear grief like a costume. It's your armor. Wednesday sees through the adults' facades, calls out hypocrisy, and uses writing as a weapon.
That is amazing. Oh, I've never thought of it like that. That's so great. It's so creative.
So AI does pretty well when I ask it who you are. So you get to keep this paper as a souvenir.
Thank you.
Of who are you in a Netflix series. I want to have you back on the show.
Yes, I would be more than happy to.
Yeah. This has been inspiring and telling, and yeah, you look great.
Thank you. So do you.
So, all right. Lexi Silver, everyone, thank you for listening. We'll see you back here on the next episode.
Thank you.
Out of Patience with Matthew Zachary is a production of Matthew Zachary Worldwide. The executive producer is Matthew Zachary. It is mixed and edited by Kyle Moore. If you like the show, ratings and reviews are always welcome wherever you get your podcasts. If you have guest suggestions or would like to learn more about sponsorship opportunities, email podcast@matthewzachary.com. For more information about Matthew Zachary and Matthew Zachary Worldwide, visit matthewzachary.com.